السلام عليكم. لا تنسوا الاعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد ان شاء الله.
المسجد لا
Where is Mecca? In Pakistan, Mecca? Where is Pakistan?
إن أول بيت سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده. اسمع اليوم الحرام مسجد الحرام was created in the time عبد الملك بن مروان هو الذي بنى.
هذا يقول لك معاوية بن أبي سفيان نصراني. هذا يقوله.
How could somebody after the death of the Prophet of Islam 70 or I don't know 80 years عبد الملك بن مروان شوف who built حرام hold on
ما عنده بروف هذا المستشرقين
who built مسجد الحرام after 80 years and then he's written in the Quran. It means that the Quran was ad fuel.
The proof. You made up in China, not proof. Made up in China.
That's been fake, yeah?
You know, I asked him a question. What you asking? Just proof. Asking for proof.
No, we didn't ask. You know, the brother was asking.
No. He asking for
He
proof.
said like Israeli language older than Arab. And I say, how come the son can be older than the father? They are son of Yaqub, Jacob. How can this? What about the Arab?
He said
no.
one piece of evidence. He claimed Islam started in Syria.
Yes.
That's what he. So he said one piece of evidence. That's where this argument.
Where is the advice? Where is the proof? There is claim.
No.
This is the claim of the Orientalists. The Orientalists claim that. Are you Muslim?
No.
You're not Muslims?
I'm Muslim.
Are you? Yeah, these are Christians?
No.
Where you?
The other one.
Huh?
The other one.
The third one.
Are you Jewish, yeah? Both of you Jewish, yeah? Yeah, so this is just a claim he made, which was made by one of the Orientalists. Orientalist was...
Edward Said.
Yeah, like one of them. Edward Said is not the one who claimed it, to be honest. Edward Said is not the one. It was another British Orientalist claimed that. And he said, you know, the Masjid al-Haram...
And it started in Syria, not in Mecca.
Yeah, he said it was Abdul Malik bin Marwan who built the Masjid al-Haram to send people away. What is crazy that Abdul Malik bin Marwan and his son has been accused of other things as well. They say he's the one who built the Aqsa to turn people away from Masjid al-Haram because of his cousins Abbasiyin or Alawiyin. All these claims, anyone can make claim, but we have to show the proofs. Understand? I can make claim to be a billionaire, but when it comes to proofs, no money. Understand? So making a claim doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah,
you know?
we never said that.
Yeah. So what Jewish are you? What sect?
Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi. So you don't believe in Torah?
Yeah.
Word by word?
Yeah.
Huh?
613 commandments.
Okay. So
You know Baha?
No, man.
Sounded like you did that.
I'm not. No.
So what was I gonna say? So you know the Torah?
Yeah. Not very well. I just want to say that.
But you know God is perfect.
Yeah.
Like Muslims, Christians, Jews.
Yeah.
Oh, God is perfect. Okay.
I think I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Yeah. I don't know what says it on here. Is it on? Turn it on. Anyway, in the Bible, which is the Torah, likewise in Tanakh, he says God greatly regrets. Okay?
And how can God regret?
Yes, because regret.
We've heard that. We've heard this argument before.
Yeah, because regrets is deficiency in knowledge. Especially the context. The context said, I the Lord.
It's all about.
Yeah, even the context.
And when you look in the Quran, it says in the Quran God has hands. Does he have physical hands?
We believe God has hands, but not like our hands.
But it says he has hands.
No.
So like it says he regrets, he doesn't regret in the human sense, he doesn't have hands in the human sense.
No. We go first of all the context.
Yeah.
Like you have a hand.
Yeah.
And the clock has a hand.
Yeah.
But your hand and the clock's hand is different.
Yeah. And likewise, God's regret is different from
Okay,
human.
but God's regret has been explained by God himself.
Yeah, but it's different from human.
Yeah, but he said no. He said, I greatly regret for choosing Saul as a king. Why? Because Saul turned his back on me. So for God, why God regret? Because he never expected Saul to turn his back on him. That's why I regret.
Because he didn't expect it. Because he regretted the decision made by Saul.
No,
Much like
no, no.
I know the other argument is God rested. How can God
No,
rest?
I'm not talking about resting.
No, but that's
No,
another
you're missing the
argument
point.
you're mentioning.
No, I'm talking about God regretting his own decision, not Samuel, not Saul, his own decision. His decision for choosing Saul as a king. God regretting it.
Yeah. But my argument is if God's unlimited, he can regret. Your argument would be regret is not an unlimited presence. You can't regret.
It's efficiency, yeah.
See, I would say you're limiting God. You're saying what he can and can't do.
No, I'm not saying what
But you've said explicitly, I'm the one that said, I think God's all powerful, he can do anything. You've said just now, God can't regret.
No, I didn't say can. I didn't say can. I'm saying God. No. First of all, I'm saying God is perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't say can or cannot. I didn't say this term at all.
Okay.
But what I would say, it is not possible to have a God who is perfect all the times and to be imperfect. Doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with what God can or cannot. God can do everything the way befits His Majesty, because we believe God does action based not just pure will, based upon His will and wisdom, and intent. So I'm saying that I'm not trying to reject God. I'm saying God Himself to us is perfect, but in the Bible we read that He regrets He made His own decision, which is a sign of deficiency.
In a humanistic sense.
But even according to God.
Yeah, but
that's what God said.
But you're looking at it from a humanistic sense.
Why God regrets?
Cannot know.
He said that. He said this in the Bible. Why?
Right. I mean, he wept when the Egyptians were killed, right? When Moses split the sea and the Egyptians died.
Yeah.
He said God wept.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are his children.
Why did he weep? He knew it would happen.
I don't accept that, to be honest. I don't know about whipping, God whipping and all of this.
It can be perhaps seen as.
I mean, it's not the.
What does it say God cried?
Yeah, it's in the Bible. This is what he's saying. But my point about regretting, because regret also about Jacob wrestling with God.
Yeah, I know. I've heard.
Do you accept that? Do you accept that was God?
I accept that there are different interpretations.
But some say it was an angel. Some say it was an angel.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
There are different interpretations. It can be seen as a
MMA.
metaphor.
It's not that sort of wrestling.
It can be like
It's
wrestling with yourself.
an idea.
No, wrestling. They put him in the headlock. That's what he said. He said he grabbed him and he said, "Let me go."
If you have a restless night, you wrestle with an idea or a concept. Are you fighting with that concept? No, you're not. You're not physically fighting. That's an interpretation. There's a physical, and then there's also metaphorical.
No, but
that's a big
he gave a reference.
But he hold him and he said, "Let me go." He said, "I'm not going to let you go until you bless me." He said, "What is your name?" He said, "My name is Jacob." He said, "No more, your name is Jacob, your name is Israel." So he holds him. You can't hold ideas.
You can hold an idea.
You can hold it.
You're holding your idea now.
I tell you, let me go. Come on, man. This is.
Maybe it's metaphorical.
It's different. It's metaphorical.
But this metaphorical. If you open this chapter or this door, anything can happen.
I'm not saying for sure that it's metaphorical. I'm saying that there are many interpretations and a metaphor is one of them. I'm not disputing that it can be physical, it cannot be physical. But I'm saying that metaphorical is possible.
Okay, the Torah was given to Moses, correct? All of it?
It was revealed. I don't know if it was revealed all at once. But
There's different interpretations.
That was given to Moses.
Yeah. And you're going to mention about his Moses.
To Moses.
And you're going to mention about his death.
Not just his death, after that as well.
So when it comes to that, certain things weren't revealed to Moses. Specifically, it was given but not all revealed
Who was given to?
to Moses.
But it can't be given to Moses because since then, there will be no prophet like Moses.
There's stories. But there's stories.
Moses is held to a higher standard than all other prophets.
If I'm doing a passage in the Torah,
There's stories in Ethiopia, from Ethiopian Jews about Moses, about him asking God, when is he going to die? And every Friday he's wearing a death shirt, ready to die, because he's not sure, because God said it'll be sometime soon. And the message behind it was, it's not for you to know. Not everything is for you to know.
so I'm lost. Say that again?
Talking about Moses not knowing the time of his own
Moses
death.
didn't know the time of his own death, even though the Torah was revealed. The message behind that was, not everything is for you to know now, and God won't forget you. You have a place.
Yeah, but we have that passage in the Torah which supposed to originally was given to Moses. So he died, he was over 100 years, and the people, the Jews cried for him, the Israelites cried for him. Also since then, so we have to understand, the one who's writing this passage clearly indicates he came away after, because he says since then, there was no prophet has risen like Moses. It cannot be the same time. It cannot be the same time as Moses, because why? The fact that he's saying since then, there was no prophet, operation. You're gonna have operation like a heart beating. since then there was no prophet has risen like Moses that indicates a long time. Because as you're aware that you know what language Moses spoke.
Aramaic, Hebrew, he's Semitic.
No one's sure. Because why?
Well, when he was raised by Pharaoh, allegedly he could have spoken like the language of Egyptians back then.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
And the Torah that we have is in Hebrew. So the earliest Torah that we have is 1,000 years after Moses. So how can we be so sure what really Moses said, and how can we trust the translators of Moses' speech?
You can't be sure 100% because it's human error, right? Human error is fallible. It's not perfect. It's not like God. It's not perfect.
Yeah, but that's the point here is that as a Muslims we believe God is perfect. That's why when it comes to Quran, we have even people living our time. We have manuscripts even back to Prophet Muhammad's time, because you know Prophet Muhammad came way after Moses. But one of the miracles of the Quran that was memorized and seen our time by hundreds of millions of people, word for word, letter for letter. You go to Africa, Europe, since the time of Prophet Muhammad, even within the Quran, Allah taught us to memorize, to read it, memorize it, you know, and there's many virtues of reading the Quran, everything. So logic dictates why we're going to base upon our salvation upon something we're not sure about.
That's a good point. I would say to that, the same exists within Judaism. There are rabbis and scholars who memorize the Torah. If they're writing a Torah scroll, if they get one vowel wrong, they have to scrap it and start again. Because it's believed to be so holy. It's the word of God, right? So you cannot even touch the paper with the words on it. You have to use like a pointer, which means like a hand, to touch it because it's too holy. But there's similarities there with the Quran, right? Like you can't turn your back on it, you can't like naked in front of it. Like,
but I'm saying this is happening now. But I'm talking about Moses' time. There's 1,000 year gap, and we know that in the Torah, the Israelites many times have been cursed by God, and God told them that you change the teaching of Moses, you change the teaching of God. So how can we trust generations that have been cursed many times?
This is the story of the Torah, right? It's not a story of victories, it's a story of defeat. Because you're right to say that they were cursed many times. The story that the main theme is not about victory, it's about redemption. It's about making a mistake and asking God's forgiveness and seeking atonement.
No, my point is, what's your name?
Zachary.
Nice to meet you. My name is Shamsi Zakaria. Yeah? What's your name? Tom. Nice to meet you, Tom. My point here is, Zakaria, that imagine that between me and Prophet Muhammad, there is generations that the Quran came through. In the Quran tell me they are cursed, liars, deceivers, they pagan worshippers. Logic dictates, how can I believe those people never change what is in the Torah? Even Jeremiah says, how can you claim that you are wise when the pen of the scribes have changed it?
We were talking about this earlier.
It
says pen of the scribes and it doesn't say the entire Torah. It doesn't say
the law, it's the law.
It says specifically the scribes, certain scribes for money.
Change the law, the law.
It says certain scribes. It doesn't say every scribe.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how can we be sure that the Torah which is Jeremiah was talking about is not the Torah that you have?
Because when we look at the Torah, we can see in Ethiopia, for instance, the Jews were completely disconnected from the Ashkenazi, the Mizrahim, the Sephardim, the diaspora. They were separate. They came, they were such an ancient Jewish people. They didn't have the same holidays as us. They had no idea about Hanukkah, for instance. It happened after them. So when they found out about Hanukkah, they had no reference because that was at the time of the Greeks. So to them, they were like, we don't know about that. That's more ancient. But their Torah is the same as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Their Torah is the same as the Torah that the Ashkenazi Jews have.
But Dead Sea Scroll, there's many contradictions in it.
That's not what we're talking about, regardless, though. But okay.
No, but I'm saying if the Torah is same as the Dead Sea Scroll, there's many contradictions in the Dead Sea Scroll, if you're aware.
What, towards the Torah, isn't it different?
In the Torah, for example, even Tanakh as well.
What, they're different?
They're different, for example, how many horses that David had, and how old was the king, Ahab, another king. How old was he when he started, was 22 or 42? There's many. My point, it was nice talking to you, but I'm just showing you, I'm not trying to belittle you or none of that, but I'm just showing you, like, when you read the Torah, forget about outside the Torah, when you read within the Torah, there is many issues you can see clearly that you have, like, for example, about the Moses issue, for example, about God's issue.
It's an issue from an Islamic perspective.
No, from a sound reasoning perspective.
It's not an issue from a Judaic perspective.
No,
because there's little, the Quran is very specific. The argument of all Muslims is it's easy to memorize, it's easy to recite. It makes sense when you follow it word for word. There's a lot of interpretation. The Talmud plays an important role. there's lots of things that aren't as clear cut. The specifications, particularly revolving Moses and his death, are very clear to Jews. It would be less clear to.
No, it's not, because there's a rabbis differ concerning it.
But the reason it's clear to Jews, and the reason they didn't go into specifics, because they didn't want Moses to become a martyr. They wanted the focus to be on God.
No, I'm talking about the rabbis have differ concerning the passages, some passages in the Torah.
I can't speak. I can't. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Even
maybe interpretation.
There's from Spain. No, not interpretation. With the passages that how
you're saying the words are different.
Yeah.
I'd have to see them. I've not seen them.
One of them is Maimonides. Yeah, he mentioned that Maimonides. He said it's a secret. He said you cannot speak about it from the layman.
But he was speaking specifically about prophecy in the Guide for the Perplexed.
No, also about the one I mentioned. Yeah, I read it. I read it also. You know.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah. Maimonides was under the Islamic.
I know.
Yeah, he was one of the scholars. Even our scholars mentioned he was a great scholar. He said he was named. He was Musa bin Maimun.
Yeah.
And they said there is no Musa after Maimonides. Yeah. So my question will be the last one. Sorry to take your time here, because it was a nice talking to you.
Likewise.
Why don't you believe in Prophet Muhammad?
We get asked this a lot, actually.
You've been asking many questions
we get asked this question a lot. I don't have a specific answer for you. What I would say, I believe the Prophet Muhammad was a prophet.
Yeah.
But not necessarily for me. I believe he's a prophet for you.
Okay.
And I would point. I understand the problem. I would point because from your perspective, Prophet Muhammad is for everyone.
That's correct. Yeah.
For humankind. I understand that, and I respect that position.
Yeah.
I would say that I would point to the Noahidic covenant, which is for all mankind, and the covenant with Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant, which was specific to the children of Israel.
Okay.
It's just a difference of opinion.
You remind me of a group of Jewish. They are in Jordan.
Okay.
Who believe in Prophet Muhammad, but they say the same thing. They say we believe Prophet Muhammad was a prophet of God, but it was not for everyone. It was for the Arabs, but not for us. Yeah. Or someone said even it was for everyone, but not for the Israelites. Yeah. You remind me of them. They say exists in Jordan. You know.
Yeah, sure.
But I can't remember. There's a documentary about them. Yeah. Even they claim they have a written manuscript from Prophet Muhammad's time that gives them security, that they are allowed to practice their religion. Yeah, in Jordan.
Interesting.
But what we say to Zachariah, we know that the Most High, the Most Wise, will not choose a liar to convey his message.
I agree. I'm not saying that he's a liar.
No, I'm not saying no. But I'm saying if we establish and you believe Prophet Muhammad is a true prophet, logic dictates we should believe what he came with, and that which part where he came with is for everyone. So you cannot establish prophet. You cannot say Prophet Muhammad is a true prophet. On the other hand, you reject what he came with.
But I don't reject it.
That's why he says it's problematic. Do you say that?
I said it's problematic within Islam because you can accept it. That would be seen as arrogant to accept him as a prophet, but not accept his teachings, or not accept the Quran.
Yeah, but even logically speaking, if you accept Prophet Muhammad as a true prophet, and he says for the Arabs, but from his teaching is for everyone. I mean, even the covenant you're speaking about, one of the signs of covenant is circumcision.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so God told Abraham that my sign of my covenant with you is to circumcise everyone. And from those who circumcise, Ishmael.
Yeah, of course.
So Ishmael has covenant with God as well.
Well, that again is different because when God's, I may be wrong. I don't know. It's like
okay.
But I think that he mentioned the seed going through Jacob as opposed to Ishmael. But I might be wrong on that one. I don't know. Do you remember we were talking about it?
I can't remember. There's a mention. I don't know if it's Jacob.
Our discussion is not here to win, but it's good to discuss. Maybe we'll meet even after. You go do research. Maybe you're gonna ask me something I don't know after the research. But I just said it today that God told Abraham, one of the signs of my covenant with you, that you circumcise everyone. So my point will be, if Ishmael is not part of the covenant, what was the point of Abraham circumcising him? Because God told him that is a sign of the covenant.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, Isaiah 42, are you aware of it?
I'm not aware of that passage, but I'm aware of Isaiah.
Isaiah 42, it speaks about servants who's coming to glorify the Lord. Okay? What very interesting in this Isaiah 42, he says, let the wilderness and its cities lift up their voice. The villages that Kedar inhabits. Let the mountain of Selah sing. Okay? Kedar, if you go to Genesis 25:13, he said, this is the names of the sons of Ishmael, according to their generation. First one is Nabiot, then Kedar. Also, if you Google mountain of Selah, Selah is in Saudi.
And also in Jordan, which is again problematic. There's another mountain in Jordan called Selah. There's two.
No. They say which is the desert of Sinai. That's what they say. Yeah, Sinai. But we know there's another one which is rebuked there, that the desert of Sinai is too wide, even include the Arabs side. You understand? But I'm saying, why this prophet? Because the servants of God is coming. He said, the people of Kedar will rejoice. And in the Tanakh, the people of Kedar, either the son of Ishmael or another name for the Arabs. Historically is known, no one made them rejoice except Prophet Muhammad. You have to think about it, you know.
Yeah. What I would say, I mean, I don't think anything of what we said. I don't think we disagree on anything.
Yeah.
But I would say that one of the.
Good.
I can't speak on behalf of all Jews.
Yeah, of course. Even me, I don't speak on behalf of all the Muslims.
But,
no, that's good points.
But there's an old Jewish proverb. They say 2 Jews, 3 opinions. So I would say that one of the main themes within Judaism, and especially like biblically within the scholars, is to question critically, debate, like, you know. So perhaps that would explain your earlier comment about like there being contradictions.
Yeah. What I'm saying, no problem
It's
at all.
a very like widespread practice to. Like,
but we should think about it as well, because why? Look, our Prophet Muhammad, when he was in Medina, this shows you how we glorify Moses.
Oh yeah.
Prophet Muhammad.
Mentioned the most times in
the Quran, yes, he's mentioned more than Jesus. You know, Moses is one of the great messengers without any doubt. You know, even there is one of the rabbis. He lives in Malaysia now, or Indonesia, and he said, you know, because some Christians, let me make it clear, because always they say you Muslims believe the Jews are pigs and the monkeys, because you have the story. Even it's mentioned in the Jewish sources as well. It's not about every Jew. That was specific to those people who rebelled against God. Understand?
That's about context.
Yeah, clearly context. So you're not allowed to go to every Jew. You're a monkey. No. It was specific to those who disobeyed their prophets, and God sent them out to be a monkey. But it's funny to say, our Islamic sources mention they had no offspring. Those guys, no one came from them. You know. But it was nice talking to you. Can I give you a gift, please?
Of course.
Thank you very much. I want to give you something. Don't worry, my bag. Just to read it. Too many bags. Zakaria, just read it. You know. It's not gonna make you Muslim, but just read it.
I always keep an open mind.
That's good. Here. This is Islam. It's a nice one to read.
All right.
Can I give you one, please? Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. Zakaria, take care, bro. Take a nice one, man.
See you soon.
We're cousins, innit?
Exactly. Brothers of the book. Huh?
Take care, yeah? Look out for yourself. Thank you very much.
إن أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والاشتراك في القناة.